go through a combined 11. Courtois is injured, so I'm going to go David Raya. They don't have a left back of quality, so I'm going to go Zinchenko.
Would you excuse me?
Center back pairing, I'm going to go Gabriel and Saliba. I don't think any of their center backs are better than ours. It's a toss-up between Carvajal and Ben White.
What are you?
An idiot sandwich.
But I'd rather have Ben White. The midfield, Declan Rice is a defensive midfielder, no debate. Jude Bellingham is also in, no debate. And it comes down to Modric or Martin Odegaard. And I pick Martin Odegaard.
Hey, yo, what the fuck?
I think Vinicius has been poor this season. So I'm going to go Rodrigo, Saka, and Gabriel Jesus. Let me know what you think. Why are we counting Champions Leagues?
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 Welcome back to the Top 6 show. Egal is meant to be on the show. I don't know where he is, though. But he has to show his face. I actually hadn't watched all of that. I heard about it all season, and I didn't see that until after Real Madrid won the Champions League. But the bit for me, where's his music coming from?
Another one.
I don't know where the music's coming from. It's my phone. That's random. My phone just started playing music. I've not even got it on. One of my kids must have turned something on one of the Amazon things. But yeah, look, from my point of view, I hadn't seen that. The bit that stood out to me more than the player disrespect was, again, why does the Champions League that the players won matter? I mean, it literally matters when you're doing a combined 11. What people have won. Egal, you've got to come on and answer for those crimes.
I don't know, you know,
out as well.
Him saying Ballon d'Or front runner Vinny Jr. hasn't been that good this year might be a close second to that, you know.
When did he film this video, by the way? When did he film this?
It was like September-ish time. It was near the beginning of the season, to be fair. So he probably wouldn't put Jesus and Zinchenko in it now, but he'd probably put Kai Havertz and Tomiyasu in it. But it's crazy to me to only have 2 Madrid players in that team is mad.
Yeah, it's just Arsenal fans for you. They're unbearable. They're a horrible set of fans, and that's why, I never want to see them succeed. They're horrible. They're so delusional. Honestly, online, the vast majority, the worst of every fan base is bad, but like the worst of the Arsenal fans are the worst without question. Like they really are relentless. They're just so they've won an FA Cup behind closed doors with Arteta. Like Ten Hag has done a better job at United than Arteta's done at Arsenal. 2-0 and he has 2 trophies in 2 years, and I hate United. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, it's good to see them continue to fail. Anyway,
I hear you. It was just it took me aback. But why we talk about their Champions Leagues is crazy. Even on form, at the start of the season, it wasn't like Real Madrid were bad. Yeah, I don't get it. I just don't get it. I don't understand it at all. But viewers, give us your thoughts, give us your feelings. We'll be touching back on the Champions League a little bit later in the show. I wanted to start with Man United actually tonight in terms of first talking point. There's talk of an £80 million bid that could come in from Saudi Arabia for Casemiro. There's also talk of 120 plus million potential bid for Bruno Fernandes, but Bayern Munich and Barca are looking at him as well. But if Man United end up getting 50 plus million, maybe even making a profit on Casemiro, I mean, that'll be a turn up for the books, wouldn't it?
I don't see it, man. I honestly don't see it, Terry. Listen, I think people are just putting things out there at the minute because Casemiro, it's not like Casemiro's been playing well for you guys and they're trying to take him out. You know, he's been on a downward spiral. He's not as big as, like a Salah going to the Saudi league at the minute. I don't think you're going to see more than 40 million for him, in my opinion. I don't know where this 80 millions come from, in all honesty.
He does have 3 years left on his contract, though. And if they want them, which they do, they're going to have to pay the money. And they have silly money. So 80 million to them is probably about, they have billions and billions and billions of unlimited money. They don't care. And if Man United get to do that, it's absolutely a masterstroke because, on merit, nobody should pay 10 million for him because he's absolutely washed.
That's a narrative that doesn't actually really land, because if they bought Casemiro for 80 million, he'd be their that league's second most expensive transfer of all time. And you consider all the players they bought in the past. I don't think big money ends up happening in the transfers, but it's not in the fee. It's more so in the players' wages that they get. They'll pay the players loads of money, but the clubs won't really get that. I mean, you look back at us last year. We had to fight for a month to get 40 for Fabinho. I'd say he's leaving the Premier League in a better state than what Casemiro was leaving the Premier League in. And
he was younger. And he was younger as well, Tom, when he left.
How long did Fabinho have left on his contract?
2 years, I think.
It was 2 years, I think.
By the way, I don't think we'll get 80. I don't believe we'll get 80. But you said something a minute ago, Don. Like, we'd be lucky if we get 40. If we get 40, I'll celebrate. With the level, because if a European team wants him, I think we'd be lucky after last season and him being 32 and the wages that he's on. We'd probably be lucky to get more than £10 million. So if we were able to sell into, and this is the one thing though about Casemiro, he does have more star quality than Fabinho, because he played for Real Madrid and he's part of that group that won all those Champions Leagues. His name, don't let he's this last 12 months at Man United fool people. This guy has got star appeal, and that's something the Saudi League wants. They want more players like your Casemiros, etc., who have sort of been there, done it, worn the t-shirt, and can bring like extra crowds in. Fabinho is a very good player, but he ain't bringing crowds in like a Casemiro in terms of he doesn't.
You think Casemiro's bringing in crowds like that, Terry?
He's a star name. I mean, it's the reason, one of the reasons that they want him. I'm not saying he's not going to bring in crowds like Messi or Ronaldo, but he's a Real Madrid legend, and Real Madrid legends, they just hit different, and he's a legend of his country as well. So for me, I don't think we'll get 80 odd million. But when I've seen people all year say, you guys not going to be able to sell him, no one's going to buy him, I'm like, you guys are forgetting about the MLS and the Saudi League when it comes to these Real Madrid players. They are desperate for him because it raises their profile. So I think we'll be able to get anywhere between sort of 30 and 50 million pounds for him. And that is, by the way, to the MLS as well, that's pocket change. These leagues are so rich, it's unbelievable, but they just can't buy the stars when they're in their pomp, essentially. So yeah, for me, I'm really, listen, we can get that kind of money in for him. That helps our endeavors massively. Bruno Fernandes, on the other hand, what do you reckon, Kate? If that Man United get offered £120 million, as the report today suggests, for Bruno, do you think Man United should sell him?
I don't know. I mean, I can't stand him as a rival. I think he's a horrible little player. But if he was on my team, I'd probably love him. Do you know what I mean? But he seems to get a lot of abuse from his own fans, which is mad, because his stats are actually really good. But do you know what? If Man United want to sort of rebuild this team, that they're close to FFP, so they've got to sell some of these big names. And I think, you know, if you're going to get offered that sort of money, for me, I'd have him out the door and get in an Elise and, you know, somebody else and start again. I think Bruno's attitude is definitely a little bit suspect. And as I say, if you're going to start right from scratch and rebuild the whole team, then for me, some of these big players with big egos have got to go, and then let the new manager come in and bring in his own new players of who he wants for his system.
I think Bruno was one of the most disrespected players in the league. When I hear United fans talk shit about him, I really am perplexed, because he's been one of the most consistent players they've had in their banter era of late. Let's be real, like, you know, he's been one of the most consistent. He comes up, he delivers, he scores big goals. Yeah, sometimes he can go miss, but like in that squad of players you've had over the last few years, he's by far and away not the worst problem. He should be part of a new era, you know, with the Ineos and stuff. So I think you shouldn't even dream of selling number 120 million, because United's history with expenditure in the transfer market over the last while means, what are they going to actually do with that 120 million if they get it? Who could they get? You know, I don't know. I think you got to be careful what you wish for if you're a United fan and you want him gone for that price.
I get what you're saying, but when they've got footballing people now at the top, and you've got a new manager coming in, if 120 million comes in for a 29-year-old who's got 2 years left on his deal, doesn't matter how great his output is, because we know he's an output machine. That sort of money, I don't think you can say no to. And if Elise is, you know, linked with Man United, and you can bring him in and someone else, I think long term, obviously that betters Man United. Plus, does Bruno Fernandes? I mean, are you going to get a more attractive offer for Bruno Fernandes in the future? Probably not. If these links are true, I think you got to cash in. Doesn't matter how great he is and has been. That sort of money you can't say no to.
United aren't in a position of a win now. So therefore, keeping a player who is in his prime doesn't necessarily make much sense with the way that squad is probably going to be built over the next 2 years. Whereas the money that they could get offered for him, that could go about fixing a lot of the holes that United have. Because if we're being real, there was a lot of holes in this United squad that need filling. And, you know, just like left back, for example, centre back, they've got rid of Varane this year. I don't even know who they've got left at centre back. So they probably need 1 or 2 there. Midfield, especially if Casemiro goes, they're going to need another one there, maybe 2, because we don't know what's happened with Eriksen. There's so many holes that United needs to fill, and they aren't going to fill them with win-now players. They're going to be filling them with probably younger prospects or some experienced heads to help out the younger prospects already. United aren't going to be spending the summer building a team to challenge and win the Premier League. United aren't going to be spending the next summer building a team to challenge and win the Premier League. That aspiration has to be 4 or 5 years down the line. Bruno Fernandes does not fit that timeline. His biggest use for Manchester United now would be as a cash cow who they can flog to Saudi Arabia and use the funds to build the next era of Manchester United. Because if you can sell Fernandes and bring in a new attacking midfielder, Michael Olise, and a top DM to go alongside Kobbie Mainoo, all of a sudden you've got a large core of your team built for one player, which makes sense.
Then you're losing Bruno.
I don't think the player will go to Saudi. That's the problem with this story. I think if we get offered it, I think what you guys have said is logical. You have to think about the timeline we're on. How many years has he got left? You have to think about when to sell players. And I know that certain fans will say, well, you should be thinking about winning and always thinking about winning. But football isn't just about the here and now. You have to play chess sometimes and know when to move people on. Sir Alex Ferguson very famously got rid of Paul Ince, Kanchelskis, and Mark Hughes to allow space in the squad for the class of 92, which we won the league the following year, to be fair. We'd already been champions, but made us better in the future. We were struggling for 2 or 3 years with Chelsea's back-to-back titles, and Arsenal had been invincible. We went out early in the Champions League. And he wanted to sort of bring through Rooney and Ronaldo. There was actually a problem in the dressing room with Ruud van Nistelrooy, who was still arguably the best striker in the world at that point, and Ronaldo. But the manager knew, I've got to cash in now on Van Nistelrooy. So it's knowing, Man United have got a history of sometimes getting rid of their best player at the right time. I would say in the last decade, we've left it too long before we got rid of people. The fact that Pogba was looking for a new club for 3.5 years before he left, and we didn't cash in on him in that time frame is ridiculous. Martial probably should have been sold 4 or 5 years ago for money. So that element, I agree with. If Saudi come in with this bid and the player's willing to go, I think it's something we can't afford to just turn our nose up at. But it's more likely that a Bayern Munich or a Barcelona who are talking to his agents are going to come in and turn his head. And then you're looking at a lot less money. And if they're only offering us 50, 60, even 70, 80 million, I then do look at it and think, I still think we need him in this team at the early stages of this rebuild. The third factor, which some Man United fans don't want to consider, is the player has publicly stated this, that he needs to understand what the club's direction is. He may look at it as a 29-year-old. I want to say 29. He might be a little bit older than that. He's 29. He's going to turn 30 in September. He may look at it and go, if this project is to not be ready to challenge for a Premier League in 2 to 3 years because of the age profile of player, the kind of manager we're going for, I also don't begrudge him his age saying, I want to go to Bayern Munich because I want to win I want to be able to win something now. So I'm sort of very open-minded about this. I agree with Paddy, probably the most disrespected player in the Premier League, bar none, in my opinion. I get that he rubs people up the wrong way, but there's a lot that gets said about him, which when you read things about Man United as a Man United fan, his attitude is nearly always, it is right, even though his antics sometimes look wrong. We would all turn around and go, Cristiano Ronaldo is a born winner, right? We'd all turn around and say Cristiano Ronaldo is everything for a team. But he has wins and cried and moaned his entire career. What I love about Bruno as well is the sort of narratives that he shot down, because no one can turn around anymore and say, well, what's he won? He can't speak. He's won 2 trophies at Man United. He won some at Sporting Lisbon. He doesn't have a league title or a Champions League, but he still won major trophies. You look at this run, this FA Cup run this season just gone. He was actually very good against Liverpool, but the Liverpool game was the only match in the entire run from third round through to winning the final where he didn't score or create the decisive goals. So that, for me, shows the quality of a player he is. And anyone who, if we do get rid of him, if he does go to a Bayern Munich or a team like that, they're absolutely going to thrive with someone like him. As long as you play him in the best position, which is the attacking midfield role just off the striker. Because for about 2 years at Man United, we stupidly have been moving him around the pitch to cater for other holes, and we've sacrificed what he's very good at. When he came back into his natural position in about the beginning of March, between then and the end of the season, his goal and assist return was absolutely phenomenal again. So he's a machine when it comes to that, there's no doubt. But I am in two minds. I don't want him to go, but I understand we're playing chess here, and it might be the right decision for the club in the medium to long term.
Yeah, I think the smart thing to do, Terry, because again, I don't think Bruno's going to go Saudi at this point in his career. I think he's going to want to stay Europe if he leaves United. But what I wouldn't do as United at the minute is offer him a new contract if you're going to keep him. Because for me, as much as Bruno's quite frustrating, I think his decision making is quite poor. A lot in games where he can make a simple pass and he just tries to do the fantastic pass every single time. And I'm thinking, bro, just play the simple pass there. He's still a good player, like what you're saying in terms of the output. So I actually want to see Bruno, how we get some of this new structure, depending on who you bring in, because I think he can be a key player for you guys. He's not the worst player in the world, to be honest. He is quite frustrating, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see him with hopefully better players for you guys. So I think keep him, but just don't give him a new contract for now. Let's see how he gets on.
He doesn't fit the timeline though. Like he's clearly aggravating to win trophies. He did that whole interview with the Players Tribune before the FA Cup. I'm not saying when
you say timeline, Tom. When you say timeline, Tom,
Manchester United are not going to be challenging for major honours, or not expecting to challenge for major honours with the signings they're going to be making for at least 3 years, because that squad needs to be. But
when you say that, I get what you mean about the league. But let's just say we keep Bruno, and let's look at some of the players we're linked to. If we were to sign Branthwaite, if we were to sign Elise, if we were to sign, who else have I seen us linked to that's quite credible? Or the chance of it happening, and then we sign a really good DM. I don't know who that person is off the top of my head, but we sign with Frankie de Jong comes in. I'm going to throw a name out there, right? So Frankie de Jong, Elise comes in, and we get Branthwaite. Why can't we win the League Cup, the FA Cup, and or the Europa League next season? I don't see why, and I get that's not the Premier League, but I don't. I've said before, Man United fans have got to be patient in this rebuild. We're the only one of the top six that's having a genuine rebuild from the beginning of this summer, where we're going to gut everything and start again. But I don't think that we shouldn't expect any silverware over the next few years and challenge for honours. We have to.
No, as a fan, I get that. I'm trying to put myself in Bruno's shoes. Does Bruno Fernandes, at this point in his career, with the offers that could be there this summer, think it's worthwhile staying at Manchester United for the rest of his prime, should we say, and challenge for League Cups and FA Cups? Or in his mind, is it right? What I want to do is go and win a league title, or go and compete to win the Champions League.
So I'm glad. No, listen, I get where you're coming from, and that's something he's got to decide. I mean, we have a very famous player at Man United, Brian Robson, Captain Marvel, who essentially did what you're talking about. He stuck with Man United through the hard times. He was obviously a fairly young player when Sir Alex came in, and he stayed until the twilight. I mean, he was a world-class player, won cup competitions and everything else, stayed in his final season. He was part of the first ever Premier League winning side. So maybe Bruno, and listen, he only won one league title with this Brian Robson, but he is a legend that's up there with every other legend in our football club's history because of the time that he spent at the club. And the younger generation won't know as much about him, and people older than me will remember a lot more. But that's what Bruno needs to decide. I'm happy for him to stay the rest of his career here, as long as he understands what we're doing and he's bought into it, because you need everybody on the same. So if he stays and helps us win 2, 3, 4 more trophies, and then in 3 seasons, 4 seasons time, as he's bowing out, we win the Premier League, he'll go off as an absolute hero of this football club for doing that. So, but it's about him. If he doesn't really want to do it, I'm really happy to see him go, because I only really want players at my club that actually want to be here and are bought into what we're doing. So yeah,
when I'm looking around Europe as well, Terry, realistically, like Bayern, they don't need him at the minute. They've got Musiala there unless they sell him. You know, Man City, they're not going to go in for
Musiala's going to go out wide though. He's not going to be the 10 next season.
But Musiala, you're not going to move Musiala from his best position to play Bruno.
No, that's what I think. That's what they're going to do.
No, I think this is the thing. I think you will. The reason why you would is only KDB in the world over the last 8 years creates and scores more from the midfield position they all play in. Musiala technically on the ball, light years ahead of Bruno Fernandes with the skills and the tricks. But at the end of the day, I'd much rather have someone who's going to score and create more goals. You win more games.
In Kompany's system, I see him using touchline wingers more than a player like Musiala. Like, I think Musiala can play on the wing, but for me, his best position centrally, right? So looking around Europe, I just don't know where Bruno could go at the minute and you know, sort of start
Barcelona.
Barcelona, yeah.
Why would you go to Barcelona over United though? I don't get that. I think Bruno strikes me as a guy who wants to stay and continue his legacy at United. But the only thing that could waver that is the disrespect of the fans, because you see United fans always on his back. Like, he's, as I said, very disrespected. So that could be the thing that pushes him out of the club. But if you're at Man United, why would you leave to go to Barcelona? They're even more kind of unstable, and they're not going to get near Madrid. Like, I don't see the point in that. And United are a bigger club than Barcelona. So yeah, I don't see why Bruno would want to leave. Like, he strikes me as a guy who wants to captain the rebuild and be part of it. Like, you know,
I agree, and I'd like to see him do that. I understand what you were saying. Your club won the EPL in lockdown too, bro. Is what Samuel said. That's obviously
25 points clear in February. Stop waffling, mate. Shut up.
Harry here says, tell Al McGuigan from Twist. Is that Al's Toy Barn guy? Not all Arsenal fans are delusional. Yeah, we played your video at the beginning, Al. I don't know if you've seen it. I thought you were going to be here from the start, so we played it.
Blasphemy.
I think that's at you, Paddy. I think
no way, bros. No way he's called me Al for Toy Story. That's crazy. Do you know what?
You got a chicken outfit.
No, I might have to get one in the next stream. No, that's actually pretty accurate. I can't even fight that.
I like it. I like it. Viewers, make sure you're hitting the like button. Please make sure you are subscribing to the Football Terrace as well. It's important to us that you get. Oh, I was going to say just before we move on from this, it's not predominantly Man United fans ever go at Bruno. It's Pogba fans. Generally speaking, like most people that say the United fans that have a go at him, look at their profile. You'll typically see one of two players. It's either Martial or Pogba. For some reason, it's just, and then you just know without looking. You just nearly always, or they're Arsenal fans and the Odegaard debates there. It's not, do you get where I'm coming from? There's always like okay, yeah, but I bet this is in his profile, or I bet it says this and he's on his bio.
The same background, the same demographic, the same.
Yeah, it's just, again, and do you know the most annoying thing I always felt about that weird debate of Bruno fans versus Pogba fans is that if you went in front of Pogba, who I rate by the way, and said, I think Bruno's shit, your hero would call you a dickhead and tell you to go away. That's the maddest bit about these fanboys. The people you're fanboying think you're idiots. They really would. It's like, if you imagine you went up to Messi and said, by the way, I've been tweeting for years that Ronaldo's crap. Messi would give you the weirdest look in the world. Like, it's so strange to me, but that's just me. That's just me. I find it I'm old and I find it weird. Terry, are you in for MT Cabinet? Terry, he's a good player. He's a good player. I have to say,
wait, as a Spurs fan,
what team does he play for, Terry? What team does he play for?
I don't quite remember, but he's a good player. Good player. But
yeah,
I don't think we can get him. Honestly, that clip killed me. Do you know, I actually felt a bit sorry for Stell, right? And I'll tell you why. Because he started off again, don't know him, and I thought, good, stick to that. The longer it went on, the more he was like, oh, my football. Because what you get in the comments is people going, you don't know who he is. Sometimes you've got to be strong and just go, yep, I don't know, because it can catch you right out. But yeah, MT Cabinet is not on his way to Man United. There we go. A bit of Chelsea. I want to speak a bit of Chelsea because you've had a lot of activity in the last few days, Don. Your manager coming out, I know it's via Fabrizio, but stating that he's on holiday, watching all the videos of your team play, wants to keep Robert Sanchez, which I think is an interesting one, an interesting early decision from him. Tosin looks like he's going to come in. There's credible talk. We've got Ben Jacobs on tomorrow morning to speak about it, of trying to hijack Benjamin Šeško's move to Arsenal. How are you feeling early doors with some of these sort of big decisions coming out of Chelsea?
With Sanchez, I'm not surprised that he's looking to keep him, because Sanchez is sort of profile of keeper that he likes. He likes a keeper that can play out from the back and obviously is a decent or good enough shot stopper. Sanchez, before he got injured, was actually good in terms of shot stopping, but it's just the lack of concentration, Terry. He's always got a moment in him. Like, if you remember the game against Arsenal, we played them at the Bridge, and he gave the ball to Sanchez, right? These guys were not doing anything for 70 minutes. Out of nowhere, just gives the ball to Rice, and Rice scores. So that's where I'm looking at Maresca and thinking, yo, you're going to learn the hard way, because Sanchez, yes, he can play out from the back. He can do what you want him to do. But overall, his concentration levels, it's like Ramsdale, bro. It's not good. You know what I mean? So for me, I'd rather move him on. But we'll see what happens, because the same thing happened with Poch. He said he wanted to keep Kepa. Had a look at him in pre-season, and the plans changed. So you never know. Sanchez might do a madness in pre-season, you know, inshallah, and then we move him on. Do you know what I mean? Because for me, this guy's got to go. And then Petrovic has got to be our number 2. With the news on Sesko, listen, we've been linked to Sesko for weeks, even before these Arsenal links came out. I'm not one to really speak much about him because I don't really watch him. I've watched a few things here and there. I've done a little bit of research. It does look, quite raw in terms of his finishing, but when he gets the ball clean, he can hit the ball cleanly, bro. That's one thing about him. And I like how he links up play. 6'5", quite physical. But again, it's just going to be another project. And right now we've got too many projects with Jackson, the Mudriks and whatnot. You know, this summer I'm open-minded, Terry, to some of these things, because I know the market ain't great. You know, we're not going to go for Osimhen. He's not going to suit the style of play that we're looking for, because Osimhen, he's not the type of 9 to drop into the hole, play to the 8s and spin and then run like that. That's the type of profile that Maresca would be looking for. So Sesko, listen, if he was to come in, I'll give him a chance, but there's still going to be a lot of learning to do. But honestly, if this guy gets everything together, because I like his raw attributes, you know, he presses from the front. Again, his finishing, his ball striking is actually decent. It's quite good, to be fair. He's tall, like I said, he's quite physical. His movement looks quite good. So if we bring him in, I'll say cool. Let's see what he can do. But I'd rather go for someone that's a little bit more, assured in front of goal. But if he comes in, like I said, I'll be open to it. I'll be real.
I get that. Paddy, how about yourself? I mean, we haven't spoke for a few weeks. I know you've been a busy man. Enzo Maresca in at Chelsea. What's your thoughts on the early stages of this new dawn?
Yeah, well, don't worry. I'm back. I'm here to stay. I'm here to put these Arsenal and Chelsea fans in their place. But yeah, listen, it's a weird one. Like, people were kind of like, oh, why was Poch sacked? But like, he got them playing right. But he got them playing right at the end. So really, he kind of failed his remit, I think. So I think it was right for Chelsea to make a change. I think they should have done it earlier. Enzo, though, it's one of them where, like, if he wasn't the Pep disciple, he wouldn't be looked at. I feel like, oh, he's bald. He worked with Pep. Let's inshallah hope he's going to be like Pep. I just don't see it. Like, he had Leicester playing some good stuff, but they ultimately nearly blew a 14, 17 point lead. I don't know. It's an interesting project. I think, like, he's going to be excited to walk into Chelsea because Chelsea have a lot of ballers. It didn't click so much last season, but they have a lot of ballers. They've got a plethora of, like, seriously good players. It's going to be interesting. Ultimately, though, in the managerial market, could they have done better? Probably not, because really, like, it's a very strange climate. You have Bayern Munich hiring Vincent Kompany, who just got Burnley relegated. You know what I mean? So that there's been a lot weirder. I think it's kind of like it's a bit of hope with it, but it could work. But
Paddy, the reality is that's where we're at. That's where football's at now. We're entering that generation now of the new managers that are coming through. You know, the likes of Xabi Alonso, like you said, Kompany. You've got Arne Slot at Liverpool now. Obviously Arteta. This is what it is right now. You know, the guys like Ancelotti, Conte's and that, they're towards the end, right? You know, they're going that way. So listen, I'm open-minded to it, like I said, because the key thing that I kept speaking about last season was Poch tactically, bro. And for me, Maresca, the research I've done on this guy, he clears Poch tactically. I'll be real. You know, he's going to play the style of football that a lot of these ballers that you've mentioned are going to need.
Yeah, like,
but it's just little intangibles in terms of the pressure and whatnot. I'm hoping, bro, he needs to have a good start. Yeah, not like Poch, where we're having, was it 1 win in 5 games or something ridiculous like that. He needs to have a good start, because there's a lot of skeptical people. Stamford Bridge wasn't great with Sarri. Like, they used to moan and groan at the style of football and whatnot. But if this football's getting us results, listen, fans are fickle. They're going to change their mind very quick. So he needs to have a good start this time around.
Yeah, he's coming into a very turbulent job. And it could work. It's either going to go extremely well, or there's no middle ground here. It's either going to be really good, you're going to be challenging for top 4 straight away, or you're going to be battling relegation. Genuinely, there's no middle ground. I feel like I feel the same, and I think what you've said, Don, is so spot on about having a fast start,
because what happened to Poch is the football was okay to begin with. Pre-season was pretty good, but then the pain and the suffering of the previous season started to creep in as results weren't going your way. And it's almost a case of getting ahead of steam, not starting flat-footed, giving yourself a good base to work from and grow from there. Egal, from your perspective, Chelsea are coming after another player that yourselves are looking at. There's talk that Sesko has said yes to the advances from Arsenal. Doesn't mean he wouldn't agree with any other club. We know some players agree personal terms with multiple teams. Are you a bit worried about Chelsea coming in? You know, a lot of credible journalists now stating that Chelsea are very confident that they can land Benjamin Šeško and add him to their front line. What's your views on that as a rival?
I've seen some images of Benjamin Šeško's agent at Stamford Bridge watching a game with the owners recently. So, of course, they know his agent quite well. They're well connected. I wouldn't necessarily say I'm scared or anything like that. It's not like I've attached myself to any particular signing. Obviously, I would like Benjamin Šeško, and I see the potential of how he would do. But if Chelsea get him, they get a wonderful player. They get a wonderful player, and he fits in perfectly with the age and profile of the players around there, and he'd suit them perfectly. As for Arsenal, at this moment in time, I've seen enough from my club where we've missed out on targets and we've ended up getting better players like Leandro Trossard, missed out on certain players in the past and ended up getting Martin Odegaard. I thought we were going to go get Maddison. Instead, we got Martin Odegaard. So we're quite good at pivoting if we need to. But at this moment in time, if Benjamin Šeško is at the top of Chelsea's target list and Arsenal's target list, it just goes to show you there's not a lot of good strikers that are proven up that level that everyone would say. Because usually you see Chelsea go for more of a proven striker. Arsenal, in the position that we're in, you'd see somebody go for more of a proven striker. And it just goes to show you how highly rated Benjamin Šeško is. The person who gets him, their development is going to be key. I think at Arsenal, you can see a clear development in a lot of our players, where at Chelsea, that's been an issue, I would say. So we'll see.
Chelsea just need the right man. Chelsea just need the right man. As I said, they've got diamonds there. They just need someone to smooth them out. And if they get the right man, who Enzo might be, we'll see. But yeah.
But have Chelsea done a good job developing any of their forwards that they've ever signed?
Cole Palmer?
Well, I suppose the Chelsea number 9.
It's just Cole Palmer. He's the only one. He's the only one that they've really.
You mean strikers, Egal? Are you asking about strikers, or do you mean this is the last season?
You could take it to forwards, but I'm talking about strikers necessarily. Like, you haven't signed a striker at Chelsea that you've been able to actually get them to bang in a long time. So it will be
that's a good thing throughout the last 20 years, though. Other than like Drogba and Costa, the number 9.
Tammy did all right in the season when we got the top 4 of Lampard, but after that, it wasn't good enough.
But then Lukaku got similar numbers, and you wanted him gone.
Yeah, because Lukaku done interviews.
He disrespected the club. That's why.
Yeah, Lukaku went out and said that like 4s at Inter. I'm amazed no one's looking at Luis Openda from Leipzig. The guy just got 24 goals, and everyone's going after Šeško. Like the guy got 30 goals.
Everyone wants a big man up front. Everyone thinks that a big man up front is the way to go, who can do everything. I don't know why people aren't looking at the smaller strikers again. Maybe go. I wouldn't be shocked to see 2 strikers come back into football sooner rather than later. Big man, little man, because it can work.
I think people are looking at the profile. That's why.
I think Arsenal. You'd be better off with Openda than Sesko.
The way you play,
need something different.
I'm sorry, I'm not familiar. Who is he?
Openda's
the other
main
striker
at Leipzig. He's the one who scored 25 goals. Šeško is the one who's like partners him, but his pace. You think Jeremy Doku's quick? This guy's faster. Like in behind with your like Martin.
He's the guy that scored a couple of goals against City, right? Earlier on. But
why would we need something different from what we already have? Think about it.
Yeah, what you already have
is quite short. Jesus is quite short. We got Martinelli and Saka on both wings. It would be nice to have somebody who's tall, fast, and can also finish.
That's Havertz, though.
Instead of having somebody else.
Havertz is your bigger striker. Havertz is your guy who you want to hold up.
No, but I mean, we already have Leandro Trossard.
Yeah, I think the issue I think why Benjamin Šeško is getting a lot of attention. He's got a £45 million buyout clause. Somebody like Openda, you just mentioned there, his contract runs out in 2028. His current market value is over 60 million. That is going to cost you a king's ransom. That is going to cost you 100+ million to break that, because RB are not in a position where they have to. Even if he was 3 years left on his deal, you'd say, well, once you get to the last 2, you start losing value. He's 24. So, I mean, 2 seasons' time, if he keeps scoring, he's still only going to be 26. That's when it's going to be really hard. It depends how much money you've got. If Arsenal, the problem Arsenal have got, I think like a lot of teams, is it isn't just one player they need. Does that make sense? It's 2 or 3 areas that need to be improved. And there's only going to be a budget of 200. When I say only a budget of 250 million pounds, that can be swallowed up very, very quickly. So I do get it. I do. But the thing with Sesko is, I know he didn't score as many goals, but he is a star-looking player. Terry, breaking news: Mbappe announced. I'm going to say this. I did think about this the other day.
What?
Yeah,
no.
This is. I don't understand why people get buzz anymore over official club announcements, because David Ornstein and Fabrizio between them, what they've done to us all is it's like on Christmas morning when you already know what you've got and you unwrap it. There's no surprise. Like, once I get the here we go from Fabrizio, I literally go off the transfer. What's the point? It's done, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be done. So yeah, I know we all know, but we all 100 million signing on fee you got. Oh, but next spend is 0.
Here we goes aren't always the way, because I thought Caicedo was a here we go for Liverpool. And,
well, it can still get until it's complete. You are right. But Mbappe was never going any. I actually saw someone tweet this. I want to throw this out to you guys. Someone tweeted Kate. I'll go to Kate first on this. That Mbappe is a coward going to Real Madrid. They're saying that he should have gone to a different club.
Your boys, Egal,
and made like a legacy for himself at somewhere like Bayern Munich or at Man United, but going to Real Madrid, he says it's like an easy way out because they're just going to win with or without you, so you're not really special.
Big up Arsenal more.
That's an absolute ridiculous take. I'm sorry, whoever said that's obviously deluded and a little bit crazy, and probably would do a combined 11 and only put a couple of Real Madrid players into it. But listen, Mbappe walks into any team and makes them better. And do you know what? I can't wait to see him play for Madrid. I just think they're going to be just phenomenal.
This was his word. I want to read his tweet at you. Yeah, his words were, I don't care if I get cooked this week. Go and create your own legacy elsewhere. Barca, Bayern, Arsenal, Liverpool. He'd make any of those teams instantly one of the favourites to win the Champions League next season. So essentially saying that this is what I don't think, and maybe it's an Arsenal thing, maybe it's a him thing. When you go to the Real Madrids and the Man Uniteds, not right now for us per se, because we've not been very good, the pressure's different. It's like when people say, Pep, he gets all the money. The pressure on a Pep is higher because the money is there being spent. The expectation is higher. Mbappe could score 30 goals a season and still get booed at Real Madrid. It is probably the hardest club in the world to go and play for in terms of pressure. You can win things and still get booed and still not be loved. Some of those other clubs he mentioned, you could literally be a loser and get a statue. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, to say he's a coward's crazy. I get the point. Yeah, if he went to a Liverpool and killed it for 7 or 8 years, he could become maybe a bigger legend in world football. There's a chance of that because Madrid, there's a big shadows at Madrid. But the pressure, don't make me, it's crazy take.
For me, I'm just confused by it because this is a Real Madrid thing. They've done this for years, bro, where they've had a bunch of Galacticos, and that's where we get the term from as well, like from them, where they've got the Beckhams and the Figos and all them players all in one team, bro. You know what I mean? So for me, it's just a bit of, I don't know, maybe jealousy or something. I don't know what it is.
Because to stand up for my fellow Guinean.
It doesn't make sense, though. Like, why would the best player in the world... People are basically saying the best player in the world, when you get offered the chance to join his boyhood team and the team that, had so many great players growing up and the team that is pretty much ready-made for him, he should turn that down for legacy. Like, he wouldn't have a legacy if he went and won 3 Champions Leagues in a row at Real Madrid.
Make it clear. Who joins Real Madrid and doesn't win a Champions League?
David Beckham.
Okay, I'm talking about in this era.
R9.
No, in this era, anybody can join Real Madrid and just be on the bench and get a Champions League.
Yeah, but he's not. He's going to be leading them, though.
What he's missing from his mantle is the Euros, Champions League, and potentially going out to other leagues and dominating like the way he did in the French league. So he will get respect for what he does, like his individual accolades, like goals and assists and everything else like that. But his team achievements at Real Madrid, it's almost like a cheat code. You're playing a video game. You're playing a video game.
I'll tell you why it's not.
You're typing in the cheat
Egal,
code.
I'll tell you why it's not. I'll tell you why it's not. I get
He's
where you're coming
guaranteed a
from.
Champions League in his lifetime.
Yeah, but that's not it though. Do you consider Vinicius Junior's 2 Champions Leagues where he scored the winning goal in both the same as Eden Hazard's Champions League winners medal at Real Madrid?
Don't need to mention the winning goals.
Exactly, Egal. So you don't see Vinicius Junior's Champions Leagues like you view the Champions League.
But let me rebuttal to you.
Hang on a second. Of Eden Hazard, because Eden Hazard barely featured, was on the bench. He gets a winner's medal, but it does actually nothing to enhance Eden Hazard's legacy amongst people that remember him, as an example. Jonathan Greening has got a Champions League winner's medal because he was on the bench because Scholes and Keane were suspended in 1999. No one then looks at Jonathan Greening as being a legend. If Mbappe is an integral part, scoring lots of goals throughout the season, winning Champions Leagues and La Ligas, that enhances his legacy. It is not a cheat code for the best team in the world, the biggest team in the world, to sign the best players. Handling the pressure and then delivering off the back of it is literally the ultimate legacy. It's why Jude Bellingham this year and the nonsense we're seeing about him, this is a 20-year-old young man who has gone to the most pressured environment in the world, where typically speaking, English players have struggled to thrive. And he has gone there and he has bossed it in La Liga in his first season. He's helped his team from beginning to end win a Champions League. The pressure on that is ridiculous. So for me, to say
one second. He's speaking to me. Let me rebuttal, Don, please.
Go on, Egal.
My main point is not about a bench player could only win it. My main point is going to Real Madrid and winning a Champions League for his legacy. It would have been a lot more respect on the fact that if he won it with PSG, for example, right? If you were to win a Champions League at Real Madrid and you joined Real Madrid already knowing you're one of the best players in the world, like for example, right now, Erling Haaland, he won a Champions League at Manchester City. It's much harder to do that when City, their first Champions League, than go to a team that have just won the Champions League and get credit for it. For example, somebody joined City, say for example, right now, you had one of the best players in the Premier League on a rival team in Mo Salah, go to City and go lift another Premier League. They won't rate his Premier League title as much as they did his Premier League title at Liverpool, simply because it's tougher to win a league title.
So what you're saying, Egal, is if Arsenal win,
Terry, my main point is you will not get as much credit when you join.
You will though. You will get the credit. You may not give it, but football will.
You will get credit, but not the same level.
But you will, of course, you will. But you're Egal, but you're looking at this from the
after talking about Real Madrid.
Egal, you were looking at this from an Arsenal lens.
No, I'm looking at it from a football.
No, you're not. But you're not. Then your football lens.
Egal,
let me respond, please. Egal, let me respond. You are looking at it through an Arsenal lens, not a football lens. If he goes to Real Madrid and dominates and kills it,
Arsenal fan. Can I change
I am speaking. Please let me finish my point, Egal. But you're looking at this through an Arsenal lens, and I get your view. If somebody like Mbappe came to Arsenal and helped us win our first Champions League, that would be bigger and better than winning 2 with Real Madrid. That's an Arsenal lens looking at it. And I understand. Gal, please let me finish. I understand that your feet, that's how you're projecting that out. And I get to you, it would mean more. But deep your own logic a bit longer. Say you win the Premier League this forthcoming season. And then off the back of winning it, you go out and sign a world-class striker who then helps you win the league and retain it. Are you then saying that his league title medal is worth less than the previous squads because it's the second time you've won it in 20 years, not the first time, because now it's a bit easier because you've gone into a winning team?
1 second. It's slightly different, Terry. I'm simply talking about somebody joining Manchester United in their pomp when they're winning consecutive league titles, joining Real Madrid, who've just won how many Champions Leagues in most recent years? In the last decade, they've won how many? 6? Crazy. So if you join that team and the one trophy you're missing is that, is not going to be. It's very simple math, guys. When it comes
Egal,
down to it, if he was for his own legacy, he'll be remembered as, yes, he might have won this with Real Madrid, he might have done this with Real Madrid, but when he was in the best team in the world, of course you're going to win those things. When you had all the pressure.
Sorry to interrupt. I need to ask a simple question to understand you here, Egal. Are you saying that Arsene Wenger's 3 Premier League titles are worth more than Fergie's 13 because we typically win more than you?
No, I'm saying Leicester's 1 Premier League title is worth more than certain other teams' Premier League titles because it's simple. It's
worth the same.
How many though? But how many? So how many titles though? Because this is the thing.
No. I'm not putting a valuation. It's a legacy thing.
No, but you have to put valuation. But you have to put value on it. You have to put a valuation on it, Egal.
Terry,
you have to.
You have plenty of strikers in your club's history that have won you league titles, right? But Jamie Vardy has won 1, and his legacy is established as one of the historical legacies where he's won a league title for that team, and it's going to go down in Premier League history. He's going to be known, even though he's won 1.
Hang on a minute, but to blow your theory out the water.
If Jamie Vardy went to Arsenal and won the league title afterwards,
please let me respond. To blow your argument out the water, I understand where you're coming from, but Rooney's got a bigger legacy in the game than Jamie Vardy.
Okay, let me give you another example. Henry left Arsenal to go win the Champions League with Barcelona. He's still laughed at for not winning a Champions League with Arsenal.
What about Gareth Bale?
His Champions League with Barcelona.
Again, you're looking, but it hasn't to you as an Arsenal fan.
No,
you think
to people.
No.
Your opinion's different.
You are looking at it as an Arsenal fan again and saying, well, he didn't win it with us, but it isn't as special. To those Barca fans that he was part of the team that won it, it's special. Football fans recognize it as special. And Henry's legacy is so big because he did complete football. Because he completed football, it's massive. The fact that he didn't do it with Arsenal, so other than Arsenal fans, we don't care.
Terry, let me just add to that as well.
I don't care what anybody tells me. Erling Haaland's league title and Jamie Vardy's league title, just one alone. I'm telling you right now, more people will say what Vardy did is more of a legendary thing.
Okay, who cares though? Who cares? They both won the title.
But what you're missing here, Egal, what you're missing here, and I want to try and move on from this. What you're missing when it comes to this is the element of if he just wins 1 Champions League at Real Madrid, doesn't win a league title, no Copa del Rey, 1 Champions League. I get your argument that 1 Champions League being won by a Porto player is, in your opinion, worth more than that 1 Champions League at Real Madrid. I can understand that argument, but he's probably going to win multiple Champions Leagues, multiple La Ligas. Therefore, his legacy is going to be huge. It becomes a weird point in the end.
And Terry, just to round up as well, Egal, because you've been going back and forth saying the same thing. Hold on, guys. You've been saying the same thing, bro. Yeah.
No, just but it's easier to win when you're in Man City, Real Madrid.
This is the same logic. This is the same logic as the people that get onto Pep to say, "Oh, Pep's been managing the best teams, is at the best budget." End of the day, if you're winning all of these things,
different when you're a manager.
It's the same principle as that. If you've worked your way up and you're winning all of these things, you're gonna go for the best jobs. It's the same thing as a player, bro. Mbappe's worked his way up. He's earned his move to Madrid. So why can't he go to the best team in the world, bro? And go win more stuff?
Nobody's saying you can't go. I'm just giving you guys a rational point. People are going to look at players and they're going to judge them based on the decisions they make. If you are a player who has gone to a Champions League final with PSG, has had the quality of a team that can win the Champions League, and people have rated you as one of the favorites to win the competition, you've never done it until you went to a team.
I understand, Egal, but when you think about the greatest players, if you think about the great Egal, but where your logic, that there is some logic to what you're saying, but where I think it falls down is if you think about most of the legends of our game, the people that we hold up as the creme de la creme players, nearly all of them have done it at the biggest teams in the world for their era. So doing it for Ajax in the 90s where they were gargantuan was there. No one, because if you were to turn around and go, right, anyone whose legacy is at one of the biggest clubs, it's a less of a legacy. It's crazy. All the top players have done it at the biggest clubs and or for the biggest nations in the world. I want to move on from this point. This here says, Terry is such a hypocrite. He said that Pep should manage a team without money to establish his legacy. That isn't what I said. You've misquoted me. What I have stated is in the conversation of who's the greatest manager of all time, one thing that Jose's and Fergie's have is they went to teams that weren't fancied and turned them into one of the best teams in the world. So unless he goes and I've said I'd love to see Pep do that. but you can kind of do your career in reverse as a manager as opposed to a football player. But Mbappe has already been at a team that wasn't fancied to win in Monaco and beat Moneybags Paris Saint-Germain to a league title. So he's already done that at the early stages of his career. But thank you. What if Mbappe wins the treble? Madrid haven't yet. It's a great point. Have to love Kate's reaction when Egal talks about Arsenal, is what Joe says. No way Paddy is shaking his head when he says Klopp won Premier League means more than City 6, as it means nothing when City win it with Pep. I don't know.
When did I say that? What? When did I say that? I mean, yeah, actually, I would agree with that because City's is riddled with 115 charges and they're a fraudulent football club. So, yeah, they do mean more. Thank you.
Yeah, again, that's a very, very different conversation. Real Madrid don't need Mbappe. He needs Real Madrid. That's the difference.
Real Madrid want him, though. Not exactly.
But do you know what doesn't make sense? Just because Egal didn't let anyone else speak there for about 10 minutes. The flip side of that, the thing about Mbappe right now is beaten with the opposite argument. It's like he will never be respected because he stayed at Madrid or because he stayed at PSG. Now he's going to the biggest club with the biggest pressure to lead himself. You know, he's like, for example, Ligue 1, Farmers League. No one ever looks at his goals in the Ligue 1. It doesn't like actually mean anything. But now when he goes to La Liga and Stat Pas La Ligas, it's going to completely bring him to the very top, and he'll be winning Ballon d'Or straight away. So it's just a waffle of an argument. You know?
I agree. I've said for years, Mbappe
your club said it means more. So you should understand when I say Real Madrid, for God's sakes, your players won a Champions League, right? In this era.
Oh my God.
You're telling me club's Champions League.
Don't do it.
Telling me club's Champions League.
Don't do it, Egal.
One Champions League, Liverpool won. Don't you think?
It means more to me. It means more to me as a Liverpool fan.
One second.
But it doesn't mean more in general.
I want to stop you. I need to stop you because you're walking into a trap. The Liverpool fans say it means more because they're looking through their lens, mate. Like you're looking for an Arsenal lens.
Yeah,
like,
it means more to us.
For Liverpool fans, Liverpool winning a League Cup means more to them than Real Madrid winning the Champions League. Yes, because it's their club. But that's not how football as general views it. There's a difference. You are looking for an Arsenal lens at a football debate, Terry, so you're being biased.
Terry, there's people who are not Arsenal fans that agree with my point. My main premise is, if you are the best player in the world and you're going to the best team in the world, setting yourself up in a situation to continuously dominate a competition, which you have failed to get over the hump, and they're getting you over the hump, it can be viewed as you were never going to able to win it until you went to Real Madrid.
Right.
Let me
No one bemoaned Bale. No one bemoaned Bale when he went to Real Madrid. No one
because Bale was never Mbappe.
Yeah, but Gareth Bale
Bale was never the best player in the world.
If Arsenal ever get in a position where they're dominating and winning like Man City, I never want to see you lot saying, "Oh, we want all the best players to come here," because it's not going to hit the same. That's the logic that you're doing. That's what you're doing right now.
We are not going to be Real Madrid with 15 Champions Leagues. It's a different story, bro.
You never know, bro.
You don't even have one, to be fair. So
you ain't going to have 15.
The only people that view football the way you're talking about, Egal, are trolls online that will say things like, Pep can't win the Champions League without Messi. No real football fan ever felt like that. It was banter. We are going to move on, though, because we're going to run out of time if we don't. We'll come back to some of these
super chats. You don't speak for every football fan. I'm sorry. Respectfully, no.
I didn't say I did.
No real football fan speaks like that.
I don't believe. But this is what I'll say to you now. We're only sitting here, 7 of us. It's 6 versus 1 in terms of the way we all view the legacy element. So just in our little digital space and room right now, it's 7-1. I don't think I speak for everybody, Egal, but I believe you are absolutely fundamentally wrong that if Mbappe wins 2 or 3 Champions Leagues, 2 or 3 La Ligas, kills it in terms of scoring goals, that's not as good as winning one big trophy with Arsenal. Of course it is. It's better. It's multiple trophies.
I'm not comparing multiple trophies. I'm comparing one Champions League win at Real Madrid.
But you can't have this conversation until he's only got one Champions League win. You have no idea what he's going to do yet. So it's a futile conversation, Egal. Look, I want to move on because we're going to run out of time.
You're moving. You're changing the parameters of the argument.
I'm not changing any parameters. I want to move on, Egal, because we've got other subjects to talk about. Mbappe winning the Champions League at PSG would be bigger than winning it at Real Madrid. Simple.
Simple.
But
What
he
a, lo-
hasn't.
what a love story, winning it at an oil club. Oh, such a fairy tale. Wow.
I get
Jesus.
Egal's point, but once again, he's doing a terrible job at explaining it. It's like how LeBron or Kevin Durant is viewed having to move to a super team to win a championship.
Facts.
I mean, look, all I'm going to say is this. I don't know if it's comparable to basketball. I don't watch basketball, but most of the teams that win the big trophies every year for the last 30, 40, 50 years have always been super teams, predominantly. Every now and then, a Porto happens or a Leicester happens, or Bayer Leverkusen like this year. But generally speaking, it's a super team that does it, or a big club. Egal, I'm a Madrid fan, and we don't care what lens you view things. Mbappe doesn't have a Champions League. It means more to him. Besides, don't you think everyone wants to go where the chance of success is higher? Of course they do. Plus, they also want to go. I mean, the logic that Egal's using, when you start to boil it down, it means really and truly Sesko should want to go to Chelsea, because getting them out the hole they're in right now is a much bigger challenge than helping Arsenal get over the line. Therefore, legacy building would be higher, so that people should now reject Arsenal and go to Chelsea instead. If everybody thought like that, that's what would happen. We'll come back to some more of these super chats a little bit later in the show. I wanted to touch on Spurs before we get into a little bit about. We are going to go back to Real Madrid a bit later. Spurs are linked with Eze, Henry, and I've heard that this. You've said it earlier that there's talk that Eze to Spurs could be quite advanced soon.
Yeah, I personally, just my opinion, I think it's 75-80% chance going to happen. And the only way it doesn't happen for me is if a bigger club comes in. I think it's a similar situation to a...
No great chance of that happening then.
Well, I look at the teams in the Premier League. I mean, Arsenal won't go in for him because they've got an Odegaard and they've already got creativity. Man City have got creativity coming out their backside. Chelsea have already come out and said Nkunku or Palmer's going to play in the 10. Do they need another 10 being in the Conference League? Newcastle financially on FFP have to sell Isak, a Gordon or a Bruno Guimaraes to be able to sign him. So I look across the Premier League. The only other team is Man United, in my opinion, if a Bruno goes. Because they're already linked to Elise, and I don't see Palace selling both of them this window. I think in terms of the way we play, James Maddison this season, I think a lot of people can say hasn't turned up to the level we thought he would. And Eze has had a much better season, especially towards the end. I thought he was brilliant. He's under the same agency as 80% of our squad. When we played Crystal Palace, we gave him and his family a box. So you see the way James Maddison's putting out pictures. Look, I think it's going to happen. And I know Maddison's a bit of a PR merchant from time to time. The question is, where does he play in our system? Because I get it's a squad game, and I get, rotation is going to be very important. But can you play Maddison and Eze in the same lineup, knowing the fact that we've got so many forwards, whether they're good enough or not? Could Eze play out wide in the front three in a Postecoglou system, which is so reliant on pace? I don't know. And then if we start rotating Maddison, he's got attitude problems in the past. There's a few question marks on the deal, but I do think 75-80% chance it will happen.
A mad question is, why would he leave Palace, who might very well finish above Spurs next season? You never know. Based on how they've been since Glasner's come in, they look absolutely.
Yeah, he's a very good coach, but
they might get decimated. But I wouldn't say there's no chance of that happening at all. I'd say like that Spurs and Palace would be close. I genuinely believe.
Apparently, there's a gentleman's agreement between Eze and the club that he is allowed to move this summer if the right offer comes in. So. I didn't think they'd sell Eze and Elise, but it looks like it could well happen. I think it's a little bit insulting to say we're on the same level as Palace, Paddy.
No, he's aren't as a club. No,
Paddy, don't disrespect Palace like that, bruv. Come on now.
Yeah, no. Listen, I mean, like if you look at the I don't know when it's from, but like Palace are like first in a form table from a certain period of time. Like Palace have been unbelievable under Glasner, and I mean he usually has like a 2-year stint at clubs, and they'll be decent next year. Now, obviously, if they lose both Elise and Eze, then okay, but. Yeah, I honestly I like Spurs. I think they're a grand old club. They gave us the Champions League by being shit, so no disrespect to them.
I do think it'll happen though.
I genuinely don't know where he fits in on the basis of how Postecoglou plays. I think he's a very good player. I don't think he's a Postecoglou winger, and therefore I don't know where he fits in. Because
He fits in the 10 because listen, I know it was one. I know it was one. I know it's only 1 year, but I sort of just gut feeling, could be wrong. I feel like James Maddison showed the world last season why none of the other big clubs over the three or four previous seasons went in for him. Started like a freight train, and I know he had the injury. What did he miss? A month? Maybe
3 months.
maybe 5. Did he miss 3 months?
Yeah, 3 months.
3 months. When he came back, and there was more than enough time for him to get his mojo back, and he absolutely didn't, and he faded. And I think that the fact that people in the first 2 months of the season were saying, see, he's light years ahead of Bruno Fernandes makes me laugh. He just isn't of that level, in my opinion. So listen, I think it would be an amazing sign for Spurs in the sense of your progression if you literally were to replace James Maddison within a year with someone like Eze to play. And it would show we ain't standing still. We are going to try to continually
We could play both though. If
you might play, yeah.
I think we're going to go to a 3 at the back next season. Like a lot of I think the only 2 fullbacks from 3 weeks time, we're out and out fullbacks we're going to have is Udogie and Porro. Royale is on the cusp of joining AC Milan. Reguilon's going to be, I think his contract's going to be ripped up. Sessegnon's contract's not getting renewed. There's a lot of that Doherty from Luton has been heavily linked. He's predominantly a left midfielder, but had played left back. I think we'll play Dragusin, Van der Ven, and Romero, and then have an extra space for a midfielder. That's the only way I can see it working. But like the only thing Postecoglou hasn't really done magnificently the back end of the season is our attack has not improved. We've looked absolutely woeful in a lot of games. If we're 5 or 6, 8 or 9 games down the line and Eze doesn't start to perform, I don't know. Is Ange the right manager for all these different attacking options? I don't know. I think he's a very much system manager. And you saw that at Celtic. Like I'm surprised they didn't sign Matt O'Reilly. Like he for our system would be absolutely brilliant, but I don't know.
I think Eze would absolutely do amazing at your club, and I wouldn't want you guys to sign him personally. Arsenal Academy boy, I wouldn't want him to go to Tottenham, but if he does end up going to Tottenham, I think he would do well. Yeah,
I'm gonna give you a blessing, Egal. Yeah.
I don't think you have to worry. I don't think you have to worry. I don't think you have to worry about how he would fit in. This is a player who can play all sorts of positions, and his output. I think when he's in a better team, you're just going to see much more better output from him. Because what we've seen in the back end of the season from Elise, Mateta, and Eze shows that he can consistently perform. He just needs to stay fit and be in a side that with the quality that you guys have, I think it would be very scary.
Yeah, he's a quality player. I mean, Spurs getting him. It's weird that people talk about him and Elise's injury problems. I keep hearing it, but I looked at both. Both of them had 4 injuries in their entire career. It's not like they're not injury-prone players.
Maybe Palace is just.
I just think certain players can get. Maybe it's because people don't watch Palace every week, and maybe on the 2 or 3 occasions they've watched a Palace game, they were injured, so it's kind of stuck in their head a little bit. But yeah, I think Eze will be an absolutely phenomenal signing. And the good thing is, if Elise goes Man United or Chelsea and Eze leaves and goes elsewhere, Palace are probably going to be an easier team to play. So it helps everybody to a certain degree, if that makes sense. Because those two, I think most of us have suffered at their hands at some point in the last 3 to 4 years. So that's a good sign. But I mean, yeah, definitely a better signing than Timo Werner as well. Definitely a better direction than re-signing him, which I still find strange and don't really understand why Spurs have done that.
Simple. It's a cheap deal.
This narrative, I don't like. For once, I actually am on the club side here. We're going to lose 3 forwards this summer, and he's not going to play week in, week out. Plus, we're in the Europa League. Like we all know, his quality is nowhere near the level. But Solomon's going to go, Brian Hill's going to go, and we don't have
Well, Solomon just signed, didn't he?
Yeah, but that's political. That side of things.
Yeah,
I'm not getting
Fuck
into
Solomon.
That's political. That side of things.
I don't even know what that's about. I'm not even going to ask.
Brian Hill is absolute. He looks like the geezer from The Big Bang Theory. I've seen more meat on a chip. He's useless. He'll go. Solomon will go. So the only natural left winger we've got is Son, and Son in this system is going to be the striker. So if Son plays up front, we don't have a left winger. So everyone's going, "Oh, Levy strikes again." I'm not a Levy in person, but it's a loan deal. Like, relax. It's a loan deal until next summer. Then he rejoins Leipzig. He's not going to start 38 games in the Premier League, is he?
You guys are going to end up signing him, I bet you.
Nah. Even if we do it, it'll be like he's not going to start.
Hey, Werner's not the worst. At least he runs his arse off. You know, he can't finish, but neither can Darwin Núñez, and Liverpool fans love him. So, you know, Timo's he seems like a good lad. You know, let him cook. It's only a loan deal as well. Who cares? Like, it's not that big of a deal, you know. If they spunk loads of money on him, I know they're giving him wages, but like, it's not like.
I mean, how much is he on a week, Timo Werner?
That's a different argument.
200 grand.
What is he? Is he? Oh, well, fair enough then. Maybe that's a bit. Okay, fair enough. I take that back completely.
I thought they were going to buy wingers this summer, Tottenham. I thought that was the big problem maybe they had in the squad, because no one on the left really worked. And on the right, Brennan Johnson, inconsistent. Kulusevski, inconsistent. I thought that was the area that they were really going to target this summer. But if anything, it seems like Ange wants to go narrow, by a bunch of 10s and really compact the middle. And then maybe what he was doing last year with Porto and Udogie, them going into the middle, maybe they now play as more traditional wing backs, go wide, and it becomes like almost a narrow 3-10 setup where he's got so many creative outlets there that eventually, let's say Maddison's having a bad game, just goes to Eze, or it goes to whoever else they sign. Maybe that's how he tries to go next. I don't really know what the plan is for Tottenham, and it seems weird that, because I thought you'd made a lot of good steps last summer. But Eze, I like the player. I just don't know where he fits in. And that's
maybe it's a good thing, because when people don't like your transfer window, you tend to do good. And when people like your transfer window, it was one of your worst transfer windows. So,
sound like you're speaking from experience, Egal.
No, think about it.
It happens. I mean, I do remember when Arsenal signed Ben White and their fans were getting mental. That summer was an interesting one. We have some super chats here. This one's a question to Henry. This is Henry, the expert. Jason Love or Johnny Sins?
This is madness.
You made one reference.
Yeah, one reference, and this must be the 6th super chat in 2 weeks. I've had regard. I'm not even going to Johnny Sins. Fuck it. That's what I'm saying.
Johnny Sins. I'm going to ask you one. Which one do you subscribe to? Elbrook or Astrid Wet?
Astrid all day.
I mean, we're talking about
Astrid's actually, like, listen, online, fair enough. As a person, she's actually so sound. Like, she's actually a very nice person. Great tits.
Yeah, it's a mad question, though, isn't it?
Do you know what it is? I don't get people's like anger and hatred towards them. I just feel like live and let live a little bit. Do you know what I mean? There's a lot more important things to be angry about in the world than what some young ladies do for a living. But there we go. This super chat here of Henry's the expert. Now we know. This here says Americans look at sport differently. Same debates in the NBA a few years ago with people saying LeBron would ruin his legacy if he went to the Golden State Warriors. Best team of all time. So he went to LA Lakers, even though he would have won more titles. Listen, I'm not going to disrespect another nation's sport, especially a sport I don't participate in or watch. But I think that can sometimes be an issue potentially if the way legacies in, say, basketball is different in terms of creating legacy is viewed differently to how it is in European football. It is sometimes hard to cross over the logic, and it makes a lot of sense. And I'm sure if we took sort of traditional things from European football and started to apply them to the NFL or the NBA, and I'm sure there'd be a lot of Americans or North Americans or fans of those sports that would go, yo, you ain't doing that. Do you know what I'm saying? So
imagine if you had away crowds in certain stadiums in America, you'd get beat up. Because there's no separation.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, I didn't know that. But yeah, I mean, I think all these, that's why sometimes it's hard to make those comparisons. And especially if, I understand it, if basketball as a general rule sort of views it as stay with a slightly smaller team and win. And even if you've got one championship versus 5 at a big franchise, it's worth more. If that's how basketball generally views things, I respect it. All I would say is this: in football, typically speaking, the bigger the club you go to, the higher the pressure. So the success there is what drives you towards being a legend. Most absolute, genuine legends of the game that have come through European football, Real Madrid, Barca, Bayern, United, Liverpool, Chelsea, like most of them have played for those teams at some point in their careers. And then you go back to previous eras. Of course, you'll have Ajax in there and the like. You know, French teams. Marseille won the Champions League. That's French football is absolute pomp. but generally it's always been big clubs. It's in my tip, and the smaller clubs, as soon as they get a player that starts winning and doing well, they almost can't afford to keep him anyway. So there's only one place they can go. So yeah, it is different, but there we go.
Also, the NBA is like one trophy at the end of it. Every team fights for one trophy at the end of it. Some leagues have 4 separate trophies, not even including the Champions League.
Yeah, and there must be far more. There's far more European football clubs than there are basketball teams in the NBA as well. So all of these things, you can't make a like for like comparison. There'll be transferables, like having a winning mentality and training hard and all these sort of things. Those things are definitely comparable. Real Madrid captain Nacho now has 26 titles for Real Madrid. Only most of any player in Real Madrid's history, joint with Luka Modric. 4 players in football history have 6 Champions League. Nacho is 1. But this is a great point. But no one will view Nacho as the greatest centre-back in history because of just those trophies. We understand that he wasn't integral to winning a fair chunk of those earlier on in his career. So, again, you have to look at these things case by case. Vinicius has now scored in 2 Champions League finals. World class. Yeah, it's crazy. What a player. What a player.
Only one. I don't remember one of them.
Yeah. According to Egal's next season combined 11, Havertz over Mbappe, Martinelli over Vinicius, Saka over Rodrigo, and Odegaard over Bellingham.
You know, people make mistakes, right? Let's just let it go.
Do you disagree with any of them now? Surely, right?
Which one?
What was it?
Bro, they just won their 15th Champions League. Let's not compare our players.
Yeah, right now it would have to be.
But it still has to leave and Gabriel centre-back partnership.
Yeah.
No. Let Rodrigo. Let Rudiger get in. Rudiger gets in.
We still go with Zinchenko at left back.
How many Arsenal players get in now?
They could pick the left back. Honestly, we don't have
one Arsenal player. That's it.
Probably Saliba.
Saliba, that's it. Yeah.
Maybe Declan Rice. But hey, you'll never know.
Let's change that from 9 at the start of the season to 1, maybe 2.
It is what it is. What are you gonna do? People, you get in the moment. Did you see the full video? By the way, I got really triggered by that AA Skills guy. He did a whole video where he was literally mocking us.
Well, the FIFA YouTuber, AA Skills.
A9 Skills.
Wow.
Yeah. Do you know what I find interesting about it, Egal? It's not your combined 11. It's when you said, why are we talking about their Champions Leagues? Because it's very important to us. The problem with I've stopped doing combined 11s.
That's what I got offended by.
I've stopped doing combined 11s over the course of time because I find everybody tries to frame them in a way that they can get there. So who's on availability, on current form and recent form and this. And it should just be, that's your squad and that's their squad. Pick the best 11 players. But people don't like doing that. They try to narrow it down so they can win that little debate and it just becomes boring. I need a new goalkeeper. Don't believe in Sanchez. Impressed with the Tosin signing, but the latest goalkeeper news is underwhelming. Is what
Chelsea want to challenge, they need to get a better goalkeeper. I said it last summer when they made out that Robert Sanchez had a relationship with the goalkeeping coach, so he was going to suddenly become this amazing goalkeeper, like he hadn't been dropped for Jason Steele, who was the worst goalkeeper in the Premier League last year. Chelsea can spend as much money as they want. If they don't go big on a goalkeeper, they aren't doing anything because each of the top sides in world football has a top goalkeeper.
They don't want to get it wrong. They have a lot of players under contract. They need to, maybe Chelsea are looking at the players that they have and they're like, for once, let's wait and try to sell some players before we go and buy a bunch of players.
They should have just not bought Robert Sanchez. They should have. How many players did they buy last summer? They should have maybe decided, we don't need 17 right wingers.
Yeah, but we know Chelsea keep chopping and changing.
Let's go put that money on a goalkeeper instead.
Liverpool should sell Kelleher to them for about 60 million. They can have him.
They want Ramsdale, but we're not.
Kelleher would be an unbelievable sign for Chelsea. It won't happen.
Ramsdale would just be the same problems that they've got right now. A goalkeeper that's not good enough to lead them to major honors.
English quota fits in perfectly.
Yeah, Gal just trying to raise up some money here. This here from Akil as well. Thank you, bro. He says, if Nkunku is fit, I would prefer him up top than splashing cash on average strikers because striker market is not that good.
Sounds like we've adjusted every summer.
You think Sesko's not that good?
The most important transfer target for Chelsea should be a new medical department. I think a few clubs feel like that. C here says using NBA logic in football is horrendous. Keep that. Don't join the best team crap over there. And I know if Staffy's watching, I'm sorry if you feel like that's gatekeeping, because I know Staffy gets very offended by gatekeeping of the sport. But I don't think that is gatekeeping. I think there are certain elements I wouldn't ever. I always view it this way. Imagine a bunch of Brits start going to like NFL games and they're like, no, we want to get tailgate parties banned. Like, because that's what we do in England. There's no way in England we could all park up at a football stadium and get barbecues out the backs of our cars. That gets shut down for health and safety in about 10 minutes, right? Can you imagine us going over to America and trying to make them stop that? Like, that's how I view some of these things sometimes. It's like, no, you've almost got to... hopefully, fingers crossed, we're going to be out in Germany for some of the Euros. And it's like, no, I want to go and experience what Germany and German football is like, because... I'm not going to go and go, right, we do this in England, and I hate when Brits are the worst when we go abroad and we want to start changing things, if that makes sense. You ever been to like certain parts of Spain where it's basically like a hot south end? It's weird. It's like, why is it not Spanish? Like, we're in Spain. I want to experience Spain. I just, you know what I mean? It's I went to Lanzarote as well, and honestly, where all the English people had settled and lived, I didn't go near it. I was like, why do I want to be near that? I've flown for 4 hours. Get away from them. You know what I mean? It's crazy to me. Anyway, question is, if Real wins more in the coming years than prior seasons before Mbappe joins, I do understand Egal, but 1 versus 1. Listen, I think Egal could be right if he only wins 1 Champions League, but if you actually look at league titles, if you look over the last 25 years, they haven't won the most. Like, they've won league titles, but they haven't been dominant domestically. Like, if he goes there and gives them, let's say, a 5-year period where they win, say 4. Say maybe 8 years and they win 5 La Ligas, another couple of Champions Leagues, that kind of dominance and stranglehold, again, all these things still to play for. There's loads of records still to get. So Ancelotti is not a Champions League GOAT as a manager because he won it with AC Milan and Real Madrid. Your thoughts on that, Egal?
It's not comparable. I'm not talking about the best manager in the world going to the best team. I'm talking about the best player going to the best team and making it easier.
Wait,
for him
what?
to win the trophy.
What if the best player wants to play under the best manager?
Ancelotti, what he did at AC Milan is different to what's happening.
Did you see that AC Milan team, Egal? Do you like?
Yeah, I seen it. It was a wonderful team. He had world-class players all over the place. Listen, I'm not comparing managers to players.
I know what Egal's doing, though. Egal, I think I've just smelt it. I smelt it.
One second.
I smelt what you're doing.
1 second.
I know what you've done.
Simply put, I'm not putting managers and players in the same bracket for this conversation.
Why?
It's just not comparable.
What you just said is that I want to understand why it's not comparable, because what you said was that you think the best player in the world going to the best team in the world is a bit of a cop-out. It's a cheat code. But why is one of the best managers going to one of the best teams in the world also not a cheat code?
Because Ancelotti's gone to other clubs like Napoli, Everton is different. And he hasn't obviously won this competition, but they weren't expected to win that competition.
Oh, okay.
Where PSG was expected to win the Champions League and he never delivered.
Okay. But I know what you're doing, Egal. I smell it.
No, but you guys are simply trying to draw comparisons that are not.
No, I'm not drawing comparisons. We're asking questions. This is part of what a podcast is. It's to ask questions and challenge, to dig a bit deeper, so we have a greater understanding. But I think I know what you're doing. I want to get the panel's reaction to this. Is Egal pushing this narrative that slightly smaller clubs doing things, building something from scratch, completing a project and a rebuild, and then winning a major trophy counts as more than the 1 or 2 trophies that you... Is this a way of planting the seed for if Arteta wins a league title or Champions League, that it's worth more? Is that what it is?
The only flaw in that is Arsenal aren't going to win one of the major 2, so we can live happy.
I see you, Egal.
No, people said that about Liverpool for years, you know.
Well, we've won a Champions League. We've won everything.
So until we win it, you can laugh at us now, but you know we're going to do it soon.
Arsenal are never going to win the Champions League. Honestly, they don't have the minerals. I'm serious. Arsenal are never going to win the Champions League.
But let's bear in mind here. Let's bear in mind, Liverpool had won a major trophy more recently than Arsenal had by the time 2018 rolled around. If you're after the big 2, Liverpool won more recently, so there's more evidence that we could do it.
I'm just simply saying, until you win it, people are going to have these questions. So fair enough, have the laughs now, but you know Arsenal's here and we're coming for it.
What do you think's more
They've
likely?
been here the last 2 years and they've bottled it twice.
What
So
do you
they're not
think's more
coming.
likely
They're coming for
in the
second
next
place.
But
only.
bro,
30 years?
you know this City team. Your team bottled it how many times versus City? You
We
even
didn't
told me
bottle
the
it,
other. You told me 2 months ago. You still think about those 97 points and 90.
Yeah, that's
99
how was
points.
getting 97 points bottling. Listen to what you've just said.
No, but you just said
points.
we bottled it. We lost the league by 1 point.
Yeah, but
We
you only
didn't
had
get 90 points.
90 points.
I know, but what's the difference? We literally.
If
we
you want to
literally-
beat City to a league title, you
it's
need
about
at
the
least 90
margin.
points.
It's about the
The
margin you
difference,
lose by.
the difference is 7, bro.
We
Hold
both
on,
gone to the final
didn't
days.
you
It's
lose the
same
league by
shit.
2
You know-
points?
You know what? My point is, you know what we've gone through.
Yeah,
No,
you
Egal,
said-
it was 2 points.
But we were
You
way
lost the
better
league by
though.
2 points.
How much you lose it by?
One.
Won twice.
Both times.
Yes.
Yes, both
Same
times.
shit,
Well,
bro.
We've
I've
lost
won
2
it.
titles.
I've
by 2
won
points.
it
We still
13
lost.
times. We're moving on. Spurs fans sitting there going, I can't relate to any of this. I can't relate to
I'm
none of
sitting
it.
here
It's all-
thinking, I can feel my brain cells actually dying when Egal talks. I can actually feel them.
And that's how I
Give
feel
it
when
up the
Tottenham
will
fans
to
talk
live.
about trophies.
I'm not talking about trophies. I'm just talking about your football knowledge. Just actually kills my brain. I'm just putting
It's,
it out
it's
there.
okay. We can have a quiz when you're ready.
Okay.
Hold that thought. Hold that thought. For a show, a new sponsor that's coming on board next week. Aye. Great plug, Egal. Love it, bruv. We will be, this time next week, we will be having a quiz on the show. We will be starting some quiz on the show, and
I will be there.
we will be testing people's knowledge of the game. So viewers, make sure you're here for it. They're gonna be amazing. It's a really good app as well. It is, but I think Arsenal can win the Champions League. On the Champions League win, peeps. Look, it was. I enjoyed the game. I felt a bit for Dortmund. Real Madrid are Real Madrid. They're inevitable. But I wanted to touch a little bit on Jude Bellingham because in the build up to the game, I saw a lot of stick for him. There's a lot of people going at him after the game. I see people calling him an average football player. People saying he's faking, crying, he's PRs too much. Some people don't even like how he talks. They're like, oh, he's too nice and polite, etc. Okay, why do you think there are a percentage of football fans out there hating on Jude Bellingham after the fantastic season that he's had?
Do you know what? I don't know. I think he comes across as such a nice guy. He's so mature for his age. He's well-rounded. I can only think it's jealousy. I watched your little video on him earlier. You know, I don't know why it is. You know, English fans are crazy because sometimes we big up average players and put them on a pedestal. And then you have a player like Jude Bellingham playing for Real Madrid and he gets so much hate. And I don't know why it is, except that they're jealous that he doesn't actually play for their own team. That's the only thing I can put it down to.
Do I have to be the villain again? It's very simple. People don't like English media hyping up English talent. That's how it is. I see it all the time. A lot of people, it doesn't make sense, but I see it all over social media. They're like, look at how Rio was talking about him taking pictures for his mom. It's like, I don't get it. At the same time, why they care what they're doing pregame. They're literally filibustering throughout the show to try to talk about Jude Bellingham. But the way they talk about him, you think he was a model. They're not talking about his football ability at times.
I mean, that's just Rio Ferdinand being a crap pundit, to be honest. He was horrendous all throughout that coverage. Sitting there when Vinicius is scoring, going, Ballon d'Or, Ballon d'Or, Ballon d'Or. I actually enjoyed Mourinho being on the commentary. We actually got some insight for once. But on Bellingham, it's just that the novelty has worn off and people just want to run stupid agendas for likes on Twitter and for views on YouTube. The kid has went to Real Madrid in his first season, became their top scorer, and was one of the best players as they won La Liga and the Champions League, scoring winners in back-to-back El Clasicos, getting an assist in said Champions League final to kill the game
first
against
season.
his former club, all in his first season at Real Madrid. And if England were to go on to win the Euros, he becomes the favourite for the Ballon d'Or. But people want to run agendas and people want to have stupid little things for likes on Twitter to try and downplay what a good footballer he is because they have this notion in their head that he has to be perfect at everything. I saw one of the things about, he wasn't really involved in the game. Yes, because Ancelotti told him to go and do a job, which he done, hence why he got the goal contribution. Just means he didn't
get involved as much because guess what? He can't be this box-to-box midfielder when they play Camavinga and Valverde as box-to-box midfielders. You don't play 3 of them. You play 2 of them, and you had Cruz sitting, and you had Bellingham as the 10/false 9/whatever you want to call it. He clearly done the job Ancelotti wanted because he got the goal contribution and didn't get taken off until the very end because he was having a good impact on the match. That's all that matters. He's had a very good first season. He's impressed a lot of Real Madrid, which is very hard to do, especially with the fee that he came in for and the job he had to do, because I'm pretty sure no one expected him to be the main striker for Real Madrid this season, and he's taken to that like a fish to water. He's been fantastic, and people try and downplay him. It makes no sense. Respect the greatness that you're seeing. Respect it.
Yeah, what you said about the English media, Gal, is so interesting because I still can't fathom why people watch an English broadcasting station, especially when and in the build up to this game, there was a lot of focus on Bellingham. There was a lot of focus on Sancho. There was also quite a bit of focus on Maatsen. I'm not sure of the nationality of Maatsen. I've never actually looked into it, but because he comes from Chelsea and there's that Premier League English connection, there's a focus upon it because a lot of people watching, and this is why Premier League fans sometimes wind me up. There are millions of fans of football that don't even support Premier League teams in the UK. Their interest in Bellingham is purely, how is he going to play for my nation this summer? I want to learn a bit more about him, and you've got to understand it. I used to spend a lot of time in Ireland, and I would watch things like RTE. Whether I was watching the Six Nations or watching football, there would be, when appropriate, the player a focus on the Irish lads, more so than the English players, because it was an Irish TV show in an Irish country. And I'm pretty sure if I watch Champions League coverage for any other nation, and that nation has a player 2, 3, 4 out there playing, or the star player, I'm sure there are, when Napoli were killing it last season, I'm pretty sure that any Nigerian-based TV shows that were focusing on Serie A and Napoli did a lot of focus on Victor Osimhen, because it's part of their nation, and the audience of their TV show have a vested interest in that individual. That element shouldn't be happening. But I agree with Kay. I think so much of it is jealousy and agendas. And people, and the problem is when someone is spoken about as being articulate, smart, well-behaved, well-mannered, conducts themselves properly, almost like the perfect image, that triggers some people. That makes certain people hate Harry Kane because he's got a squeaky clean image. And it's sort of that squeaky clean image. You almost get people that I want to find a way of destroying that. I want to find a way of destroying him because I don't like that people are making him out to be this really nice guy. There's so much jealousy that strings. And maybe it's because there's multiple reasons. Some people it's, well, my favorite player gets a lot of stick. Yeah, but your favorite player gets drunk a lot. Your favorite player is out doing madnesses. Your favorite player is with different women all the time. Your player's out there doing this. Your player swore at this thing, or he gets bad red cards, whatever it may be. So they get a bit of a reputation, and then they see a player that's not getting that attention, rightly or wrongly, and they attack. And I always remember, I thought it was disgusting how the English media treated Raheem Sterling, and I backed him every step of the way. But what used to trouble me was seeing people say, I hate how Harry Kane's treated so nicely and Sterling isn't. I want Harry Kane to be treated as badly as Sterling. My view is always that I want them both to be treated well. I want them both to be treated good, as opposed to dragging everybody down to that gutter press level. And Jude Bellingham is a phenomenal player. He's not everybody's favorite. He's not everybody's cup of tea. But we live in an era of football, and I don't know where this has come from, where we sort of judge every player based on our lens, how subjectively you look at the game, and there's very little objectivity left. I really feel like if someone doesn't control the ball or dribble in a way that you like, rubbish player. Football should not be judged in that way. It's about how you impact games, how you perform, how you win football matches. There's more than one way to skin a cat. And I don't want robots. I don't want every single player looking the same. I love the difference between him and Vinicius Jr. is night and day stylistically. But together this season, it's produced beautiful football. And that should be what we're focusing on. I think the attention and the hate towards Jude Bellingham is an absolute embarrassment, in my opinion.
It's quite common, though. You see what happens after a player hits a high. It gets to a point where people just start hating on them because they build them up so much to start hating on them and flip on them. It's quite common. It's
the
quite
same
common.
thing is going to happen with Kobbie Mainoo.
Yeah,
the exact same thing's going to happen. They're going
it happens to everyone. It's horrendous. It makes no sense either. Like, what do you achieve by that? And like you said earlier, Teddy, there's that people who want them to get caught up in controversies, and then when they do, they just go, "Oh my god, how could you ever do such a thing like that? Oh my god, you're a horrendous pit." So there is literally no way for these footballers to win. The fact that people have these footballers who don't even know they exist on their minds 24/7, spouting hate and stuff about them, it blows my mind. Go
Hey,
go
bro,
for a walk,
people
go play
get
there,
entertainment
go see
different ways.
wildlife, go do something else with your life other than sitting there on Twitter or YouTube spouting
But
about football.
it does work both ways. You'll get some players that have got, you know, they're a little bit out. They're a little out there. You know, they get up to a bit of mischief. And what I typically see is the people that defend them are the first to attack the Rashfords, the Jude Bellinghams, the Mainoos, who are a little bit more clean cut, politer, you know, maybe how they dress or the they hang around with are different. It's like the polar opposites. It's sort of like, well, you're defending this, but you're attacking that guy. It's all strange to me. Like, we should be, unless someone's off the field activities are impacting what they're doing on the pitch. I don't care whether they spend their evenings with a bunch of actors and movie stars or whether they go to a pottery class. We should be focusing. I know it's hard sometimes because you get caught up in the emotion when things don't go your way. But I think the attention on Jude is crazy. This is a weird comment, though. It says, Terry, but Salah is criticised. You don't say it's embarrassing. Bruv, I have defended Mo Salah probably more than any other Man United fan on planet Earth over the past 5 or 6 years. So it's crazy that you would say that, Ray. Watch more of my content. Jude hate is all on the media. Madrid fans loved him earlier on, but they have never heard anyone hype over their biggest legend, Zidane. Red dot on him. The thing is this, though.
They gave him number 5.
How many of the Madridsters are watching English press? They're not. I think if you went to Madrid right now and started asking people about this, they'd go, what hype? He has just been put in La Liga's team of the year as an example. The media in Spain is hyping this kid up because he's quality. Madrid fans adore him. A lot of Dortmund fans at the weekend, and they lost. They said in interviews after the game, "Oh, we're gutted, but we're so happy for Jude." They love him. Isn't it mad that the Spanish public and the German public love an English player more than half the English people do? It's mental to me. It's mental to me, Blaze. Jude behaves like Bruno Fernandes on the pitch at 20. I don't care. I'm wrong with that
because he wants to win.
Is that a compliment or insult?
I'd take it.
I assume it's I assume he's trying to do it's like, oh, it's petulance and he moans. Guess what? Proves he wants to win.
He just got an assist in the Champions League final at 20 and won a double. Like, what are we talking about?
This is another case of where he can't win. Let's say his team aren't doing very well, and he's stood there all happy and grinning on the pitch. Everyone would dive on him. Oh, look, he doesn't care about his team. Look at him smiling away. He's just thinking about what he's going to do afterwards. Terrible. When he gets annoyed on the pitch, he's like, oh, why is it not going? They go, oh, look at the way he's acting on the pitch. That's terrible. He should be supportive of everyone. Once again, they can't win. The obsession is horrendous. The English media are the worst for it. They are desperate to build someone up to the highest of highs so they can knock them down to the lowest of lows. And it is why the national team never had any success during its peak, because that was all the national team was. It was players that weren't good enough, who'd been built to such a high pedestal, then they were shown they weren't good enough and knocked down further than they'd started. Yeah. It's flawed.
Do you know what's really?
This is how media is. It's
right, but this isn't just the media, though. This is the problem. People get caught up in narratives. So I've just Googled Bellingham compared to Zidane. Do you know who started it?
Who?
Being interviewed after the game, Carlo Ancelotti said there are things about the way he plays that remind me of Zidane. It's his extraordinary quality on the ball. Ancelotti said after the game versus and victory against Verona. Zidane may have been even better technically, but Bellingham combines it with how he gets into the box. So the man that a lot of people call Don Carlo, one of the goats of the game, is the person that made the comparison. Didn't say he plays like him, just said there are qualities that remind him of him, and he's different. That isn't the same as saying, that isn't a direct comparison to go, I think he is better than Zidane. But the irony is the manager that everyone goes, Don Carlo, he's the GOAT, 5 times Champions League winner as a manager. He said it. So from my point of view, attacking Jude Bellingham because Carlo Ancelotti made a comparison is crazy.
Yes.
It doesn't make sense.
It's
It
just
wasn't
social
created
media.
by the media. He's current manager. And I don't know, did Dan get managed by Ancelotti at any point? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah, Juventus, no?
Maybe, yeah, there might be a crossover at some point.
Yeah, so
Ancelotti
Juve,
said
yeah.
it. And people do it all the time. It's not a direct comparison. There's sometimes it's like Bruno Fernandes. We didn't win the league, but when he first came in and we started improving, people compared it to Cantona, and it got taken out of context. No one said he was like Cantona, but when he came in, we started scoring. We went up the league. We become a better team. All people said that remember when Cantona joined, and I remember it very well. We went from being a good team. Bloody hell, a brilliant team. There was similarities, but it's disgraceful to say that. No one said he was as good as Cantona. It's going to win as much as Cantona, but it reminded people, and we get so. It's crazy to me. It's crazy to hate Jude for something that Carlo Ancelotti said. This year says we have tribalism, which makes our community toxic. Competitiveness brings out the worst in some. Everybody has opinions. Not everybody has ball knowledge. I think that's very true. But now the toxicity now goes into player versus player rather than clubs. It's just weird to me. Liverpool fans talking about bottling it is laughable. When they bottled it this season, when they were ahead by 8 points, and yet no one is talking about it, is what Emmanuel says.
Yeah, even though we were the same team that no one predicted to finish even in the top 4. I don't understand. Like we were like an elephant on a tree.
But
like
you
we weren't
spent the most
expected to
days
be
on
good.
top of the league. You had it in your hands.
No,
We
Bit like
spent, the
Arsenal
most
last
days,
season.
we spent the most days on top of the league by virtue of there being an international break, by the way. That's
Yeah.
the reason why we
Guys,
spent the most days on top of the league. It
I'm
was
just gonna
just
say.
like-
I'm just gonna say this though. Out of all of us on this panel, who won the biggest trophy this year? We did. But that. What team do you think will fail at the Euros? Depends on your logic.
England.
Because according to Lee Gunner, it will be everyone that doesn't win it who will foul. Some people may view it as. I would look at it this way. I don't want to. I'm going to go with England right now. I think I don't even have. I reckon we'll get knocked out first knockout round. That's my theory right now. Unless I don't think we look very good at the minute. We're kicking off now. Actually, I'll be live after that game. By the way, people on Euro Watch. But so what's
the definition by foul? Just not get to the quarterfinal.
That's what I mean. We've got to understand what we've got to. Yeah,
for England.
Yeah,
anything but winning it is anything but winning it is failing for England. They have the squad that are capable of winning, and I think is very well might. It depends what constitutes failure. But England not winning, like, because Southgate, you've got a semi-final, you've got a final. The next step is to win. If you don't win it, he's a fail.
Other than
always the favorites, one of the favorites.
Like other than our centre backs, this is just my opinion. We've probably got the best squad in the competition, other than the centre backs. Our centre back depth at the moment is absolutely diabolical. And
respect Kwanzaa.
Tomorrow he's about to go and play for Nigeria as well, so we're going to lose him. So.
Tomori's not been picked for a reason, though. Like, there's loads of guys who say, Tomori's class because they know he's good on FIFA and have never watched a single minute of Serie A.
He's got 86 pace on his ultimate team card.
Yeah, that's exactly why Tomori's rated. And I'm sorry, like, I don't watch Serie A. I'm not, but I know from people who watch Serie A, they tell me he's not been good. That's why he's not been picked. But I think England are a really good chance. And usually, as an Irishman, I'm like, England, I hope they lose. But I watch the Premier League and I'm a fan of the Premier League. So really, it'd be nice to see Trent Alexander-Arnold lift the Euros in the summer. But I hope it's.
I'm not going to. Most of my Irish mates, and I've got quite a few because obviously, spent a lot of time over there and was married to an Irish lady, and my son's Irish. Most of the Irish lads that I know, they don't ever say it publicly, but behind closed doors, they kind of want England to win because they all support Premier League teams. And that's
what I mean.
Yeah, they wouldn't sing the national anthem or anything, but there's a little bit. There's a little bit. I'm not going to net out any of them in case anyone's watching. Some of them live in Armagh. Some of them live in Armagh, so they definitely ain't going to admit to that.
But Terry, if France don't win it, they would be the biggest failures.
Yeah, I think it's France's. Like they with the squad
it's France's to lose.
Yeah.
Josh here said one of the favourites is highly regarded. Yeah, I think France, England, and probably Germany are the only teams that can outright fail if they don't win it. Everybody else, I don't think anybody else. Spain, maybe. In fairness, Portugal should be looked at as a team with a chance to win it too.
Not with Roberto Martinez at the helm.
This is true. This is true.
Yeah.
Is he still there?
Giving him, giving him
I'm
the keys.
surprised they didn't go Jose. They should have given it to Jose.
Yeah, exactly. Martinez flopped the Belgian golden generation, and you've given them the keys for the Euros. It's absolutely bizarre. But yeah, I think Spain. I think Spain. By the way, some people are touting Spain. I don't think
Italy are dark horses as well. They always find a way.
Whoever the next Turkey is, just put your money on whoever the next Turkey is to knock it out the groups, because they were the big one last tournament, and I don't even think they got a point.
Yeah, they were everybody's dark horses, and they were absolutely they were ponies in the end. You know what I mean? They were literally pony. Look, I want to thank everybody that has tuned into the show today. Please hit the like button before you leave and subscribe. I'm live after England's game versus Bosnia, so make sure you're all tuning into that. Panel, you've been absolutely amazing. My super chatters, you are simply the best. Until next time, take care, goodbye, God bless, and I'll see you all again soon.